Well, good morning, guys. My name is Amir Daravi. I'm the instructional technologist at Lake Forest Graduate School of Management. I'm also a student halfway through the program. So throughout my experience in the class, I realized that, um, you know, PowerPoint is really important. Most of our classes kind of have at least a final project or one or two projects that requires PowerPoint skills. So I figured I'd put something together. I've been using PowerPoint for like 10 years and it's changing. So I thought I'd put something together that might help you out a little bit while you're working on the PowerPoint. This is not going to take a lot of time, so you don't need to be an expert in PowerPoint. These are some tips and tricks that you can do maybe in 10, 15 minutes to get your simple PowerPoint to the next level. And faculties kind of like that, and they enjoy when the presentation is presentable. And also, it's a great thing to have when you professionally present your PowerPoint. So you all can see my screen right now, right? Perfect. So let's get started. Let me get out of this. Okay. So if you have your PowerPoint open, we're going to start with the theme. You have heard about that. You've seen a lot of people using it. If you do your PowerPoint blank, it usually looks white and not really presentable. So theme is one of the best way to get started. If you don't want to do anything, it's good to do a theme. So let's go ahead and uh, look at our themes in here. If you go under design, you see all the themes that are available. So clicking under that little arrows, you can pick a theme. So the first one is usually a little white. It doesn't have much of colors or anything, but you can choose between all that makes sense for your presentation. So you don't have to go too fancy. You don't want to go with something that doesn't, like, it's confusing color, it doesn't work for your presentation. So based on what your topic is, you can pick one of these things that makes things a little bit prettier, a little bit fancier for your presentation, and take it to that next level that you want. It doesn't look boring. So here you go. We changed that one. As you can see, it looks already a lot better than what it was. We didn't really do much, and it kind of changed some of the stuff that we had in the page. So that's how themes works. I'm sure you guys already know about this. Any question about themes? Perfect. Okay. So as you saw, I just added a theme, which is a black background, and all my text was black in here, and it seems to be messing things up, and that was by purpose. So that's what I mentioned, because that's gonna create more works for yourself. So you need to be aware of what your text looks like, because now then I have to go and change this. There is a way to change all the text colors, but again, you can mess it up. So I'm gonna go back and try to find a theme with like a white, so I don't have to change my text anymore, and just go about that. Let's talk about the bullets. Bulletins are very important. Most our faculties usually want simple PowerPoint presentation, not a lot of text. That we're going to talk about later, about general rules of presentation. But you want to be able to summarize what you want to say in bullet points. As you can see, so there is an easy way to make a bulletin points. You just clicking on bulletin points, and here you go, you have one. But since we want to go a little bit beyond, if you click on that little arrow on the right-hand side, you can actually customize your bulletin point to the way you want. So you click on the little arrow. I'm going again, click on the little arrow. It says bulletin and numbering at the bottom. Click on that, that opens up another page, which gives you an option to kind of choose what it already exists, or you can actually customize it with some other things that you can find out. There's a lot of different things. Depending on what I'm presenting, you can choose. There's different type of text and fonts available, so you can pick based on that. But I just go with something that's a little bit different. Maybe I just do this sign and click on it. And then also you can change the color. Maybe I want these to be purple. And change that. So again, another visual thing that make it simple. It's not the big change, but when you're a little different, that differentiation make your presentation stand out a little bit more. Simple and easy. We don't have to worry about it, but those are the things. And also, you wanna be aware of the distance between your letters and like words and sentences and the things. You don't want them to be super close to each other. You don't want them to be too far from each other. To me, this looks a little bit close to each other. So if you highlight them, usually this thing pops up. If it doesn't, it's usually in the ribbon up there, so you can increase the distance a little bit more. So again, to make things a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer, more visible to your audience, you can change that. You don't want to go 3 or 2.5. I think 1.5 to 2 is usually ideal because you don't want any more than that in your page anyway. So I'll just go with 1.5, make this looks a little bit better. And as you see, I chose purple because I saw some purples in my theme. Usually some of the theme comes with some special bulletin, so you can keep it the way it is so it's consistent, but you can kind of change it to whatever you want. Let's go to tables. Tables are great tools to present a lot of data in one area that can be kind of in concise way, and you don't have to worry about placing them in the places that it's going to jump out of the screen or not. It can add a lot of information and it can be organized. So I already have inserted a table here, but if you want to insert a table, that's going to be under insert. You see a lot of things under insert, but table is one of the first one that you can. And this allows you to choose a table. So if you know how much information you're going to be having, you can actually decide how many rows and columns this table is going to have. And since we chose a theme, as you see when I'm looking at it, it's actually giving me a preview on the right-hand side that what it's going to look like. So you can kind of do that based on your need. Now I'm going to enter. Let's say we came up with this and then we want to update what we have. It's very simple. So again, with the tables, whenever you select something in the page, there is like another tab gets added to your ribbon at the top, which allows you to design a change and customize that. So right now, if I click on it, you see there's nothing in the top, nothing next to Acrobat. But as soon as I select table, you see there's a table design and a layout. So that allows you to customize your tables a little bit. So let's click on that one. As you can see, there's no customization, there's no color on this one, it's just one red. So easy way to go about this. There's some pre-designed table styles that you can pick, which again, I would suggest to pick a color or a theme that goes with what you have in your page. It doesn't go anything crazy. Since we've been going with purple, it's too purple for me. Let's go with this lighter one. So again, that gives you a table. It's a little bit colorful. If you want to go a little bit more fancier, you can add some effect to it to make it a little bit more live. If it's popping out of the screen with adding a little bit of shadow, it makes it a little bit prettier visually, and that's something you might want to do. There's a lot of things you can play around with this. If you want, you can get rid of the borders. So if I select and go to the borders, I can, maybe you want to get rid of some of the borders. Do you want to have just one? Whatever, you can make that from the border option down here. Also, if you want to merge some of this, if you highlight the cells that you want to merge, because maybe that bottom one or the top one is just one title, you can right click on it when it's highlighted. You saw I highlighted these 4 columns or the rows, and then I right click on it will give you the merge cell. So if I do this pretty much merge those 4 to 1, then you can kind of make that your title. Again, you can play around with this the way you want. Anytime you made any mistake in PowerPoint, just like Word or any other Microsoft, if you press Control Z, if you're in Windows, and if you're on Mac, I believe this Command Z, it kind of take you back. So I clicked Control Z twice and you see I went back to what I have. So it pretty much does undo for you if you made a mistake. Sometimes I want to highlight something and I click Enter and I delete it. So remember that it's pretty easy. Control Z kind of gets you back to what you've been doing. Any question about the tables? And if I'm going a little bit fast, let me know. Great. Let's move on to the image. I picked a picture that is cat and dogs because I know it's cat people and dog people. So I didn't want to offend anybody. So most of the times, image add value, or let's put it better way. You want to add value with your image when you're adding an image to your slides. You don't want to add image when it doesn't have any meanings or any value to the text. You want to make it pretty great, but make sure what you pick makes sense for the slides you have. If you have a text that you're talking about cats and dogs, this is a perfect picture for it. And maybe you want to emphasize on something that you want to add that picture. So one thing you can do is, if you want to highlight and emphasize on something, it's a really great idea to make sure you're emphasizing that picture. So what you can do, again, as I told you, if you select any of these items in your presentation, you see there is a new format tab gets added. So if it's the text, you can format this shape. If I click on this image, you see there is a picture format now. So let's click on the picture and then go there. So one of the best way and easiest way to do this really quick is adding a frame. So when you add a frame, automatically the eye goes to the frame right away. When you pop into this page, people tend to look, and this is based on data, this is not just my opinion, they look at like the image that's in the frame first. So if you want to emphasize on something, it's good to give it a little bit of frame. That way, the first thing they look at, and then you can start talking about it. Again, make sure it makes sense to have that picture on the page and it actually add value to your slides, if that makes any sense. Any questions about the pictures and images?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sometimes when we do, like, for example, like, let's say I created an Excel file, like a lot of the time what I'm doing, just taking the snip, kind of snip picture of it and then put it. When I add it, I can do the same thing on the, on the picture, right? It will work the same.
Okay. It works exactly the same. Whatever picture you have will work the same way. With those ones, just be careful. What I would do with slides like that, honestly, personally, I try to highlight them. So what I would do, because it's a lot of data, you don't want them to look at it. So you want to look at the important things. So after I add a frame, maybe I do a simpler frame because it's just data. So I don't go with something like this fancy or this like that's thick around it.
Yeah.
But I go with something smaller. But what I do is I would use shape, which we're going to talk in a little bit, but I use shapes to kind of highlight some of the stuff on that slide. So if you create a shape, which I just picked the shape, and I make sure you get rid of the fill, so there's no fill, that gives you like a line around it, in which you can actually add the weight. So under shape outlines, you can make these lines a little bit thicker and kind of highlight what you want in those information to be visible. So you want the eyes to go directly to what the audience is supposed to see first, and that's how you make sense of it. And that's how I would do it. I try not to put a lot of data in my slides. For some courses, it's required. But again, if it needs, you want to emphasize on something, make sure you use this option to kind of highlight it. There's other way to highlight, of course. I mean, you can just highlight it with a color and like change the opacity, but that's the easiest way to do it, to kind of highlight what you want to show your audience. Any other questions?
Are you going to be able to show us if we want to do like insert from like an Excel file or something like that? Do you have, okay, perfect. And then I will
Yeah.
wait. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I don't have anything prepared, but we can at the end I'll add that, and we can walk through that and how that would work. I have to look for some Excel sheet, or I just
That
snap
would be
something.
much appreciated,
Yeah,
Amir.
yeah, no problem at all. That's why we're here today. Okay, so any other question about image and text? Perfect. Okay, so I went a little bit kind of step back here. What I've seen, and I hope you guys are not doing that, but a lot of people tend to go to Google search. I used to do it myself and like find an image and just put it on the presentation and just go with it. Sometimes that's not right, and you might get into trouble because of copyrights and problems like that, because not everybody goes and read through the copyright laws and stuff of the picture they getting out of the internet and Google. So be very careful and mindful of what you're picking up from the um, Google or whatever search engine you're using to kind of bring that to your presentation. That can be, it can cause a lot of troubles. I mean, usually we're not using this, but again, you don't want to risk it even if it's 1% chance of getting into trouble. Um, so there are other ways to get pictures. If you're getting pictures off Google, make sure you either reference it under it or have a way to show this is where it comes from so you don't get into trouble. Also try to, when you're making the search, look for HD, add like a high definition at the end of it so you get a higher resolution pictures that will help you a little bit better in terms of when you're showing something, because like if it's a lower resolution, it's going to look blurry and it's not going to look good on your presentation. So that's just a note there. But what I wanted to show you, so if you go to insert on the tab and add picture, there is one that you can just add a picture from your device, which is the simplest way to do. This is the picture you downloaded from Google. You can bring it, but there are other options in here that allows you to do things that then you don't have to worry about the copyright. So these stock images are already being royalty free, so you don't have to be worried about it. So if you click on the stock image, they're not always the best, but then it gives you an option of stuff. And also there is a search. So we had a cat and dog. Let's just go with the cat, this one. As you can see, if I create a search for cat, you see a lot of cat. I don't know why the candy is there. I guess you just took the first two letters, but you see all the results that coming in. And as you can see, they're already high definition. They look really nice. They're done professionally. So you can use a lot of those images. Also, you have other options that you can look for. So image is not your only choice. You can do an icon in here, which we're going to talk in a little bit. You can have cutout of people's, which you can get super creative with these if you ever want to add some transition and moving parts and animation to it if you want. But sometimes you want to show an emotion, you'll be able to kind of find that in here. And there's a lot of these things. So, and it looks nice because they're already cut out. So let's insert one. You see how this naturally feels like it's part of the page when you set it up a little bit right, and it's there. Kind of, I have the fingers out of the print. It looks like it's popping out. It adds a little bit of visual into your presentation, which again, take it to the next level a little bit and make it a little look better. I don't know what the problem is with this guy. I think he's just tired with, you can find something that will represent your whatever your idea is on that slide. So let's go back again, picture, stock images. So I said cut off people, icons. There's the stickers, which I don't know if MBA school, we need to use any of these, but who knows? There might be a place for it. I haven't seen it yet, but I haven't been through all my classes. And also there are videos, which we're gonna talk about. But again, sometimes you wanna add like a video in here. Usually these videos that are in here, I use it for my first slide to kind of start my presentation with something a little bit funny. If I'm talking about technology, like this one, for example, would be like a great thing to have at the beginning, because when you play your presentation and you put it on presentation mode, this is going to play back, and then I can add a transition of the text, which my name is going to pop up. Again, taking it to the next level, and this thing is going to play on the loop in the background when you are. If we go to the slideshow, let's do from this current page. As you can see, if I add some text to this could just right away get your audience to be like, oh wow, that looks different. Let me look and listen to what this person has to say. So another option for you there. Let's go back and talk about the rest of the items in there. There's illustration. Go ahead.
I have a question. When you insert those videos, does it have sounds, or it will be just more of like moving?
Yeah, they're more moving. There is an option to add audios. One thing you need to be aware of, audios are distraction more than anything. But if you want, if it makes sense, you can add. I sometimes actually record myself on Zoom and add that as a video, because I don't want to talk, or I want something really prepared and I don't want to take. So I prepare that and I bring that to the presentation. So there's a lot of ideas you can play around. You can have a video with sound if you want, but the videos that are in here are usually videos without any audio. It's pretty much meant to be used for the background mostly, or kind of like something to attract the attention.
Attracting the attention. Okay.
Attention of the people.
One more question I've seen on some presentation, which is I would love to learn that. So let's say you're doing a project about just whatever the subject is, right? And sometimes people will bring a video. The video is playing in the back end, but with no sound. How you can do that?
Oh, sure. I'll show you that. Actually, I think I do have add a video in the slide, so we're going to get into that one. So what you're talking about is in the background, and then they have other stuff happening in the front end, right?
Yes.
So that's I'm going to talk about that in, I think, a couple of slides from now. So we talked about video illustrations, and there's some cartoon people. Again, depending on what you need, there's a lot of resources in here. So it means you don't have to go outside and look in Google. It's already here and you can use it, and it's a lot easier, and it's going to save you some time. And it's searchable. So let's see if I can find something sad. So see, I can have sad, I can find happy. I don't know if that's something, but there's a lot of options in here to kind of search for and find those images. Let me see if I have happy image, what comes up. As you can see, there's a lot of resources. So again, hopefully this will save you a little bit of time to do this. Let's, for the purpose of this one, we just add some cutouts, and let's say we were successful. I guess, I don't know if that's what it is. Let's go with this guy, and then we can have him here, and let's add another one. And then let's have that one, and we can kind of add this person in here. So again, an easy way. Usually people are tired of looking at the images like this. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but when you do cut out that there's no background around it, again, it gives that visual representation that you worked a lot harder. But you spend probably a lot less finding this than finding something in Google, but it gives you that better, cleaner slides that can help you out. Again, make sure it makes sense with whatever you're presenting. Okay, so we learned about images, how to insert image. There's also a way to create a shape and then add an image inside that shape. Let's say it's kind of similar to how you frame it, but if we go insert and insert a shape, let's say I want a circle. And also, if you notice, like if you just do this without holding shift, it might be an oval. So if you want a perfect circle, if you hold your shift while you drag in your mouth, that gives you a perfect circle. That's usually works for most of um, the Microsoft Office items. So shift allows you to do that when it comes to the shape. So this is a shape. If you click on, again, as I said, if you click on a shape and then go to the format, because that's what it usually pops to that page when you create, but you always want to be to the shape format or the text format or whatever to make changes for that particular shape. And if you go to the shape fill, you are able to actually change the color of this shape, but that's not what we want to do. We want to actually add a picture. So, and here's the good news. You can add a picture again from the stock images in here as well. So you don't have to go get it. Again, if you have maybe you want to put yourself in here in your first slide, you can do that. And you bring a picture of yourself and put it in a picture. But let's go and let's bring this image and bring that. As you can see, the image pops in inside that shape. So it's not going to be outside. So this is a way for you to kind of add something within that image. And again, you can make this image now go differently. One other thing that get added in here, you see now there is a shape format, which we're talking about the shape, but there is a picture inside it. So now we can actually change the picture as well within that shape and change the coloring and the stuff. So if you wanted to have a specific color, let's say you want to go black and white, you can change that. You can give it some other effects on it. There is some artistic effect that you can add to that image. Here's we're going to talk about it in the video, but this is pretty much the transparency that they do with those videos. So they play them in the background while you're doing the other stuff. But you can just change the transparency and kind of make whatever you want to do. You can do the corrections, and also you can just remove that, the background of the image, which is it's not the best tool within PowerPoint, but it tries to get rid of the background of the image and focus on one important thing in here. It didn't really work well, so I'm just going to discard the change and go back.
Hey, Amir.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
How did you? Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, how did you insert the image into the shape?
I was just gonna ask. I missed
Sure.
that. I was gonna ask the same thing again. So.
Yeah, I can go back and I'll show you. So we insert the image, right? So far you're good. So if you select the image or click on it, that's what selecting means, and go to the shape format, and then go to shape fill. Then you choose pictures.
Oh.
And then you can either bring it from the file, you can bring it from the stock image, you can, I love to do icons because that's like a recent trend that I see in a lot of things. So not the Band-Aid, let's go with the book, but something like that might be, a little bit better. So you can kind of go with that, but that's what it is. It's under shape fill, and then you choose a picture.
So when you do it this way, the picture that goes inside that circle, it becomes part of the shape, and I don't have to do any other editing. Versus if I put two together, that will require I have to edit each shape by itself, correct?
Yeah, so this pretty much kind of allow you to do something within that image rather than just bring in a big image. Again, if you want to play around with this, that's what this all about. It allows you to do things a little bit differently and give you an extra option to do stuff. But that's pretty much it. So you can also rotate this if you want. You can play around with whatever this thing, whatever image or icon or whatever you put in there. You can kind of play around with it and make it to the way you want it. Any other questions?
What is send backward it had up there?
So this is this is if you have multiple items, you can actually add more than one and kind of send them back and forward. So if you send them back, then if you have two images, one is going to be behind the other one. So you can kind of adjust which image you want. Maybe you have a little image that is on top of another image that you can kind of put that. Let me see if I can bring one in here. I can explain it in here with another shape that's easier. So let's say I create another shape. So if I move this, as you see, this is like behind that one. So if I bring it forward, you see how it came in front of the other shape. So that's pretty much allow you to decide what image is in front of the other image. So you have kind of like layers on top of each other, if that makes sense.
Can you insert two pictures in one shape, right?
It should be. I actually never tried that before. Let's see if we can. I think it would probably remove the first one, but let's see. Let's go to icon. Let's bring like this one. I want to see if that make any difference. Now, as you can see, that I think replaced the other one. Let me send it backwards, see if the other one still lives under it. Doesn't look like it. So yeah, this way it just allows you to do one picture and it replaced the other one. I know there is a way to edit the shape. Again, if you go back to the shape format and a picture format, a lot of these things are pretty self-explanatory. It's easy to understand what they're talking about. So you can kind of add that. It's those things later on to these. Again, you have the effect. You can make it kind of pop. It doesn't make sense. But that's how you can insert an image inside a shape. Any question about that? Perfect. Okay. Let's go to videos. Again, with the videos, we talked about it a little earlier. There is a stock video that you can add. Ahmed asked me about how people have a video in the background and, you know, they have stuff in the front of it. So let's insert a video. So there's a way to do it from that idea, or there is also a way to insert video automatically. We talked about the audio. You can actually do an audio in there directly too. So if you have a MP3 file or just a sound or something, you can add it. Also, recently, well, it's been a while, but you can record the screen of your other monitors or the same monitor directly from PowerPoint. So if you want to record something that you're doing, I do that with a lot of trainings. If I'm trying to show some steps to something, I can record my click on screen recording, and as you can see, I can kind of choose I want to record these parts. It allows me to record, and then I can maybe show people how to do certain steps to certain things, and then pop back out of it. I think now, because I'm doing this over Zoom, the buttons has disappeared and I cannot stop recording it. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and see if I can find the recordings in there.
I think you might have to stop your screen with us in order to see, because I tried it, it's on all the way in the top.
Yeah, but I got 4 monitors and I don't see them in any of my monitors. That's the funny part.
Also press Windows Shift Q, and that'll stop the recording.
Oh, perfect. Windows Shift Q. Perfect.
There we go.
That's great. See, I didn't even know that one. I learned something today. Shortcuts are amazing because it might happen. And then I can make, oh, So as you see, I was recording my embarrassing moment, and it's all recorded now, and we can have it forever. But show people how to do certain. You can hear it in my background. So whatever I was doing in that screen is ready to be popped into my PowerPoint, and I can add this in here. So let's say I have this video. Before I get to that, so you can actually insert videos the same way that we insert pictures. You can insert it from your file. You can insert it from stock videos. There's an online way, which this online pretty much goes to Bing searching engine, which again, it'd be just exactly like Google. So you have to be careful with copyrights and stuff like that. But so we have this video. So what you have seen, Ahmad, that happens usually, people tend to put this in the back, and then they can give it a shape, but there is a place to, let's go back to, to change the opacity of this one and put it in the background. So let's make it bigger, and then we can send it back. So right now, if you put anything else on top of this, if we bring text, let's just add a text box. So this text box can be on top of it. So while I'm gonna stop my audio on that one so it doesn't play in the background. But if we go to the slideshow and we just do from current slides, and my text is in here and the video is playing on the background. So that's how those things it works. So they have a video and then they have other things on top of it. So they're using that layer to make that happen. Does that make sense? Is that the question you had?
Yeah, yeah.
Again, that's might be distracting in some situation. It might be great. So depending on how you're using it, it can be a little bit different.
We had a and lost class product development, and we were talking about making, our theme was going to be like the delivery food robotic, and we found a really nice video, but we wanted to play, but without the sound or anything, but we didn't know how to enter, and we will be doing the introduction, what is the presentation about such and such. So I was having a hard time to figure out this, but that's good for me to learn that. So thank you.
Yeah. And again, you can play around with the way things are from the video format area and the playback. So you can loop it, you can make it play in the thing. So you can play around with these things and figure out exactly what works for whatever your presentation is. Again, these formats kind of help you out a lot when it comes to those kind of things.
What does
Thank
loop
you.
it do?
So it's pretty much keep playing it till you stop the slide and move on. So that's pretty much what the loop is. Any question, any other question on the video? Perfect. Okay. So we kind of did this a little bit, but another trendy thing these days, it's icons. It's pretty easy to do. It makes things a lot prettier. It's better than image in some points. So if you ever want to do something, which we're going to get into in a little bit further, but let's say I want to create some shapes and some icons in it, you'll be able to kind of do that by inserting shapes. Let's do one circle and one other shape. You'll be able to, either you can use what I talked earlier, insert as a fill, or you can go to insert and add an icon, which allow you to kind of add this a little bit differently. And this gives you the option of kind of make it bigger, whatever that matches this area, and make that as part of your image. Again, you can group these together if you select them both, if you hold shift and click on both. So if I select one and hold shift and select the other one, you can select both of them. That way you can group them together. So when you're moving them around, then you'll be able to kind of move them together. You don't have to move things that's separate. You can right click and ungroup it, or you can do Control Z if that's thing. So this way, I have different things. So I can, as I told you, there's a shape format in here, but we want to format the graphic. Black doesn't go with that. Maybe I want to go with a different color for this purpose. Let's go with the worst color we can find and do yellow, and have that. So this, if you done right, that might be a great way of having things. So make it a little bit prettier and cleaner. So if I bring this in here, that can be used as a bulletin point that can attract the eyes to certain area of the page to get people to look at things. And in a couple of slides from now, I'll show you another fancy way to play around with this. But this is one way you can add a visual help to your slide that makes things, it's not just only text. Couple of clicks and you have a shape and a icon that goes again with your slides in there. There's a lot of icons, so you can definitely find some things that are going to be useful for whatever you're presenting. Any question about this one? Perfect. Okay, one of my favorite things to do, and honestly, this is something that I recently started using, so I'm not perfect at it, but it's a very helpful tool because I used to do this manually. Now it got a lot easier to do certain things. So if I want to present some sort of data, I can create this by inserting a smart art. So this is another option under smart under insert tab. So if you go insert and then go smart art, the window pops up, which gives you an idea of what you can use these for. So there's list, if you ever want to present a list. There's a process, if you want to present the process, which definitely would be coming handy. And it gives you like a preview of what they look like. And we're going to try one of these. If you want to show a process in a circle motion, that this is what's happening. Hierarchy, you want to talk about, maybe you have a company that you're representing, he's the CEO, he's the thing. Maybe you're presenting for your work and you want to show that how your company is working. You can do that. You can do some relationships depending on what you do in matrix. This is probably for SWOT analysis that we do a lot of it. I don't know if you have done it. I've done at least 3 or 4 for my projects. This be a great one, so we can do that one. As you can see, it gives you like the circles with some stuff that you can fill in. You can do the pyramids, and you can do some other pictures. So let's go with something that I've used multiple times, which is the matrix. And you click and you say, okay. As you can see, this has popped up. So already you have the image. So if you wanted, as I said, I used to build this manually and I had to do all of these separately, and that was a pain. Honestly, it would have taken me 2 hours, but now this already in here. So right away, and as you can see, these are all now individually, you can change them if you want. So if you got the idea and then you want it to be bigger, so you can make the whole thing bigger the same way I did it, or you can just select one of the items and make it bigger and just fill in the information where it's needed. Perfect tool to represent things really quickly. You can change the color. It gives you options. Since we've been doing purple, let's go with purple again, and update things the way you want it. Any question about smart art? And that can be, as I showed you, there's a lot of way to do this. And you can go fancy with it if you want. If you add like some sort of other effect to it, to make it a little bit different, that's also a way of doing this to just give a better visual to your audience. I love these tools because it has made my job so much easier when I'm creating slides like that, SWOT analysis, talking about certain hierarchy in the company that I'm doing research on or something like that. That's a perfect tool. Any questions about this one? Do you guys find this useful? I think you will. This makes things so much easier. Okay, let's go to transitions. You have heard about the transition. That's transition between one slide to another slide. Not a very great things for what we do, unless you want to use it. I feel like that's a little bit for, I don't know, 10 years ago, that those transition you used to see things. One thing that I like about transitions is the new transition that they have added, which is called morph, which allow you to move one item from one slide to another slide and create this graphic and visual thing that make your presentation pop. And I explained that to you. So as you see, let me fix this one for some reason, because we added that, it got a little bit bigger. But let's go to this. So let's say morph gets complicated, but I'll try to explain it as simple as I can. It allows you to move an item to the next slide from one way to another with a very smooth transition. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I have this, let's say I'm talking about transitions, I can move this. What I have to do is duplicate this slide, which right click, duplicate, and go to the second slide, and then I can move this item. Let's say I want to move it down here. This is just for the test. And let's say continue or something like that, and have it like that. So what I wanted to do, that's the transition. And what's gonna happen in, hopefully I did this right. Again, it's one of those new things. When you go from one slide to the next slide, I think because I changed it, it won't work. So you have to keep as is. So let's do this one more time. Right click, duplicate, because I don't want to show you the advanced part of it. And we move this down here and then go to transition and click morph. So you see that that's the motion I wanted to get first. So if I go to the slideshow, let's say you have something that carries out to the next slide, this makes it pop. So if I'm moving to the next slide, I'm talking about the same thing, then you can kind of click that. And we just moved to the next slide, but that didn't look like we moved to the next slide. It kind of added that animation feeling to it, which make things a little bit more fun, and it makes it pop. And it's really easy to do because you really didn't do much. You just duplicate the slides and then add that transition, which is called morph. Again, you can do a lot of fun stuff with these ones. I'm sure you have played around with these. There's a lot of way to do transitions, but I enjoy morph because it's new. It adds that animation effect that makes things a little bit different. Okay, so we started talking about animation. Let's talk about animation. So there is an animation feature within our PowerPoint presentation. I don't know if I used to be using these animations a lot to pop it, but again, I feel like that's for 10 years ago. Now we need to do things a little bit different to be different from other people's, and that's why I like this feature of the animation. So you might have used this a lot, but the features that I want to talk to you is the motion path, which allows you to create a motion for your images that you have, that you can move it the way you want it. So there's some motion that already exists. So if I come, I'll go back because I came fast. So we're going on animation tab. we'll go click on that arrow in the animations and then click on more motion path. I already have selected this motion. So as you can see, there's some presets motion that allow you to do. And as I do it, it's kind of show you. This might be something you can use. Maybe you want something to pop in or pop out of the page as you're doing it, or it's kind of like do some fancy animation. But what I like to do is actually, and I choose this, I like to do customs. And this might take a little bit to get used to, but it just brings the attention of your audience right away. So what I want to do is I had selected this image and I went down, I went to custom path. As you see, my cursor has changed to this plus, which allows me to create a motion path for my image here. So what I'm gonna do, so if click and hold, you be like, you can drag this the way you like it. So it's kind of like as you're drawing. But if you just click and then move it without holding the left click down, it kind of does like a straight line for you. So I can just do that. I want this, and what I'm doing is pretty much I'm moving that shape from there in that path to here in the middle. So let's just do that. And if I double click, that's the motion I'm getting. As you see, I was moving that my hand a little bit, and it shows you that. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna move this one. So I select the shape. I went up there, choose a custom path. As you see, my cursor changed to the plus. I don't know if you know by now, but I'm trying to create a traffic light. So yellow light is gonna come in the middle. I'm not holding it, so I wanna get a straight line, which it's gonna create prettier items. So this was in the middle. I'm assuming that's what I chose. So now my yellow line is gonna come in the middle. I double click, that's the motion I'm gonna get. Let's do this for the red one real quick. We got the red custom path. Red gonna go on the top. Go here and we bring it here. So that's where the red one is gonna go. Now I'm gonna do the green and we'll just bring it up here. And that last one would be the leg. So let's do that. And bring this down, maybe a little bit up. Okay, so what this does actually, if we go from a slideshow, and you can look at this in here, but if we go to the slideshow, this makes this a little bit fun. So I have this right now as a click. So when I'm clicking it, it kind of moves things around for me. Not the best traffic light, but I just did rushed in the head. It gives you that option of doing things a little bit fancy. So if you want to move some stuff from one place to another place, it pops that. You can create a feature that may be representing something for the presentation. As I said, we went from a little bit of the stuff to a little bit more advanced. It's really easy to use. If you practice it a couple of times, you get a hold of it. Any question about this one? Perfect. Okay. Another animation that I love that probably you're going to use more than what I showed you earlier is this one. Again, I use these circles because I just duplicate this, but you can create an effect of you're on a website or something. So by clicking this one, something pops up. And how we do that is if let's say we have this text, it's a bulletin point, whatever this text is, and we go and add an animation. For this one, usually I use a wipe because that's the best that works with what I'm trying to show you. So it's animation wipe. And then on the effect option, I choose from the left, so which is gonna pop up. So I'm gonna do this for all of these items, wipe from the left, Oh, I didn't select that one. Wipe, and then from the left. And let me bring this a little bit rawer. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna make an animation which when I click on this one, which again, this can be an image, this can be a shape, this can be an icon, there can be some text in here, you know, let's say stage 1, for example. That would be what we have for this one. Let's make it a little bit smaller so we can see it. But what's going to happen is if I click on highlight this one, and this is active, I'll be able to, let's go to, oh, where is the animation? Okay, so if we are in the same animation tabs, there is a trigger option which allow you to choose what triggers that animation to happen. So if I go on animation, unclick, and choose, that one is under yellow. So yellow, and then let's go with this one, trigger, choose red, and then this one. So we added animation, now we're adding a trigger to it. And this one green. So what happens here, if I go back to the slideshow, let's see how it becomes like a button. Now I can make this feature happening like that. So when I click on that one, it adds the image, which again, pops your thing. Not everything is in there, so it's not as crazy. It's not the same bulletin. And then I click on this one, that shows up. And then I click on that one, and the last one shows up. Pretty easy thing to do. Didn't take me that much to do it, but it takes your presentation to the next level. Any question about that one? Just make sure this animation has to be added, then a trigger needs to be added afterwards. Good? Okay. Let's say you don't have any time whatsoever and you have to create a presentation, and you have that simple presentation I shared with you guys at the beginning, and I just want to play around with that. Maybe I added the theme. Design idea is a great thing that has been added to PowerPoint for a while. And you have saw that popping on my screen a lot. It usually lives under design. If it's not under your home, but I have it under the home. So if you don't see it, it's usually under design tab and design idea. So if I go to certain page and go to design idea, this is a way that PowerPoint gives you an idea of how you want to present that page and make things a lot easier. Sometimes, you know, you see how this transition looks like. Maybe adding this, make things a little bit better. Maybe I have these bullet points that, hey, there's no design idea for that. Let's go for this one. If you see like, this might looks better than what I have already. So I just click design ideas, already create everything for me right away without spending time doing the icons and things like that. It might not be always the best, it might not make sense, but you know, it's easy and things are a lot prettier already. It's organized, it looks nicer comparing to what I had first.
Can each slide have a different design?
Yep. So depending on what you have on your slide, as you can see, it allows you different things, and you can load whatever you want, and there's more. So this is generated by AI within the algorithm in PowerPoint. So based on what you have on the page, it gives you suggestion to how you like that page to look like. And you know, it might make sense. If you like it, you choose that. To me, that looks better than what I had, so I go with that one. If not, I just Control Z and go back to what I had. So again, another tool that is provided there, not a lot of people are aware of it. It's under design. It allows you to quickly change something simple to something a little bit fancy without spending a lot of time. And it looks good. I have used it for PowerPoints that I didn't have time to spend to you know, sit down and do things.
Actually,
Any
it's
question?
pretty useful.
It is.
I've never know about it. This is my first time, so
I'm telling you, it's living there, and we're not aware of it, and it makes things so much easier that you don't need to
yeah.
spend a lot of time, because you already have spent time gathering the content. PowerPoint presentation is not part of what we do at MBA in a way that you need to learn it. So it's really good to kind of spend your time on important stuff, and the design, it's already done for you this way.
No,
Again,
this is very useful information, because sometimes, like, you know, within my last class, each one of us, when we had a case study and we had to do it on PowerPoint, someone had to do the editing after the presentation is done for the whole group. So it's always a good tool to speed that.
exactly. It speed up the presentation design so much faster. Again, not always makes sense. Sometimes the design ideas are not great, but mostly it works. And then when it's implemented, you can play around with it. It's not like this is gonna be like written on stone, so you can still go and play around with it. I like this one better than what I had, so why not? I'll just go with this. And it looks fancy, it looks nice, it's visually appealing, and it looks great. Any
So
other
you can
questions?
change, like, let's say this is the design, you can change the icons that.
Yeah,
Oh,
everything
okay.
in there, that's again changeable to whatever you want. So let's say I don't like that icon. I don't know, like footstep, maybe it's sort of follow that chose the footstep, but I don't like that. So you can go, as you see, I deleted it immediately, allow me to do that, or I can go insert and insert an icon myself and just, you know, put that in place of it and just play around with that. So you can do that, and you can kind of play around with all of these stuff in there. I guess you
Amir,
want,
I
go
have
ahead.
a question. Why, I mean, while you're doing this right here, I do that, you know, replace the icons that they suggest, or in someone else's presentations, whatever. What where I get hung up is copying, using the same formatting in terms of size, color, effects, and all of that. So for instance, if that little circle process, if I wanted it to look exactly like the footsteps, be purple, be the same size and all, how do I copy the format?
So the same way, yeah. So if you bring that icon in, let's say I bring this one.
Mhm.
Again, it might take you a little bit time, but then if you go to the graphic format, you can fill in the stuff. So if you use the eyedrop, like that's just change that to what we had. So here you go. You can just bring that, and it kind of matches what you had in there.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you need to kind of play around a little bit with it. Best way to do it is like this one allows me to go to the icon directly. So let me see if it changed the color as well. It did. So if you click on it, it actually brings that and change the color automatically for you without you changing anything, at the same exact size and everything. So if I select this one, delete it, then click on it and go to the icon and choose a different icon, it already automatically update that for me
Oh,
to
okay.
match what it is.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't do it depending on the design idea. So you have to kind of play around with the icons and the image, whatever you're bringing in. But usually it does allow you to do that, what I just showed you.
Okay, thank you.
Make sense?
If you were able
Any
to, you can right click on the icon as well, and
Yeah.
then change graphic, and
Yeah.
it will keep the exact same.
Yeah. There is multiple ways in Microsoft to do same thing. There is always a way to do it. So as you mentioned, it might be easier to do it that way. The way I do it is this. I'm not the best person, but that's how I got used to it. So you can do it in any shape or form you like to do it, as long as it doesn't take you much more than doing it the other way. Any other questions? Okay, we're almost getting to the time. So, well, we're on this slide, so we can talk about it. So these are some general rules that I like to share with you guys. These are based on like people sending out presentation. Pretty general. Try not to read off your presentation if you're putting slides and the bullet points. That's not the purpose of a presentation. You need to be prepared to be able to present. So the bullet points is pretty much for your audience to kind of get an idea what you're going to be talking about, but you don't want to be reading that off the presentation. The second one, which follows the first one, there is a rule of people say 4x4, 6x6, 5x5. I go in between. So try to not have more than 5 bulletins, more than 5 words and 5 topics in one slide. You don't want to go above that. 6 would be your maximum. You don't want to jam a lot of things into one slide. So try to keep it 5, maximum 6 points and bulletin points and topic in one slide, if that makes sense. Don't forget who your audience is. Make sure you're doing your presentation based on who your audience is. If you're presenting for work, comparing to for school, your, I don't know, superior at work, your employees, it's different. So you have to have a different tones, different type of presentation. So don't forget who your audience is. We talked about this earlier. Colors are important. Try not to use a lot of color. I think for this presentation, this color made sense. It's pretty attract the eyes. But if you're doing a business format, maybe you want to stick with like the business color or color of theme of your company or whatever that is. So be aware of that. That's a visual thing. You want to make sure your color doesn't distract people from the actual presentation. We talked about animation. Don't go overboard. You don't need that many. I think it's good to have 1 or 2 in here to emphasize on the points that you have. You don't want to have 20 things jumping up and down, because honestly, to me, that feels childish, and it's not, you know, an MBA style person supposed to be doing a lot of animation. 1 or 2, that makes sense. Sometimes none, it doesn't matter as long as it's not overloaded. This is my own way of doing things. A lot of people doing it differently. When I do a presentation, I'll record myself. Either I put my phone in front of me, have it on the selfie mode and record myself, or I sit down on my Zoom or Team or whatever, record myself, listen to myself, watch me, practice, record again, and repeat that process to kind of get comfortable with what I'm presenting. The more practice you do, the better your presentation is going to come out. Our faculties, I've been in the classes, some really appreciate when people are prepared. You can also work with the team to do that and kind of record and have an idea of what their topic is going to be and share that with each other to be able to kind of figure out what they're talking. We are all busy. We might not always get time to sit down together to go over the presentation, but those recordings can be shared if you like. So they have an idea of what your end is, so they can move on to the next slide and have an idea of what your presentation is going to look like. Again, something that I use that it might be helpful for you or not, but that's one of the things. Any questions?
Mir, I have a question.
Sure.
You know, one of the things I'm working on my presentation is getting the confidence, right? Because it was not something that I used to do, so it becomes like a habit more and more. What I do sometimes is, you know, the speaker notes. This is where all the details is of what I want to say on that specific slide, and I have like 1 or 2 minutes. It depends. Is it okay sometimes, like, I might not remember everything, or sometimes like just, you know, I'm having like a little bit of an anxiety, is like, okay, I'm gonna remember everything or not. Is it okay sometimes to read off of that speaker note, because that's what gives the details? I need more of like a story, you know, like telling. Is that okay? That will be unprofessional?
No, so the way I look at it, as long as it depends honestly on the presentation and your audience. Sometimes being scripted and reading off the script is totally fine, and sometimes that might not be the right way to do. It might feel like that you're not prepared for the thing. Professionally, it's always good to have notes, but those be as bulletin to kind of remind yourself as what you want to talk about. rather than reading off something as in a script. Again, if you have a teleprompter that you can put in front of you that doesn't look like you, I have done that in when I have like a long presentation that I know I cannot remember, and there are notes that I cannot miss. There's free teleprompter that you can download on your phone, on your iPad, and put that in front of you and use that. I found it for myself, it's distracting when I have speaker notes because I'm looking at 2-3 different places and I'm not keeping eye contact with my audience. So that's an important thing to have. We're living in this virtual world, so it's good to keep an eye contact, try to look at everybody as much as you can. Look at it in the camera, that I always miss, because I keep looking at people in my screen rather than looking at the camera, that it's looking at eye contact. But it totally depends on what type of presentation you're doing. It's fine to have speaker notes, it's fine to read off of those, but again, try to stay away from feeling like it's a scripted and you're reading off something. It's always a plus. I don't think anybody will tell you, you know, you prepared well when you miss something, but if you read off the script, they usually think like he didn't practice much. That's what the thing they get on the other side. So that's my suggestion for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Amir, I love all of the insights you shared. And I just wanted to add two things that I learned in the organizational communications class that I took. The instructor said, if you go through your presentation about 4 or 5 times, you'll actually you'll have memorized it. You'll have memorized those key points and you won't need to use your notes. And he also suggested that you either add an image or a couple of keywords on the slide that will help you remember the story or illustration that you want to share.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Any other questions? I got a couple of other things I want to talk to you guys about, and then maybe I'll show what Ahmad asked earlier about slides from like a Excel sheet or something. Okay. Oh, that thing has messed up my page here, but it's okay. I can fix this real quick. And just all I have to do is change that and change this one. See, sometimes when adding the theme, it might change up what you had and you might have to make a little bit of changes, but that's okay. Okay. So I want to show you guys something in Canvas that might be useful to you. So let's open up Canvas real quick. Pop down my other window. Give me a second to bring it for you. If it loads up, it will be great. Let's go to this one, so I'm not sharing. So in your classes, if you ever have a group work, there is usually a collaboration feature that you can use to log in and use because all our students have a Google account, because our email coming from Google. You have Google Sheet, Google Excel, and like Google Slides that you can use, which if you go to the collaboration, it usually pops out, that's the name. You see it on your classes. Not every class have it, but I have designed our courses the way that it should have it from now. You might have not seen it in the past, but you will see at least for the past two or three terms that we have collaboration added. What this does, it allows you to either work by yourself, or if you have a teammate that you have, to create an area that you can work on a PowerPoint all together. So if you go to collaboration, you click plus collaboration and then add Google Apps, it opens up the page for you, which it needs me to log in.
Amir, I apologize. I'm sorry I missed. Would you show how you get to collaboration after you sign? Sorry about that.
No, not at all. Actually, let me log in with my student account, because it seems like I don't have as an employee, I don't have the Google stuff. So let's go to that same one. I'm hoping that collaboration, I have to pretty much bring it open. Give me just 1 second because it's not available in here. So bring it up here for the purpose of that use. Let me bring this back. Okay, so if you're in your classes, collaboration will pop up in the left navigation. So it says collaboration. Again, if you don't see, if you don't see it, your faculty hasn't embedded yet, or it has not popped up. So it'll show up if you have a group set up and things like that. So that will set it up for you. But what I wanted to show you is the purpose and how to use it. So if you click on collaboration and then click plus, it allows you, as you see, this is my test account. It allows you to add the people that I have in my group into a Google Sheet, a Google spreadsheet, and a Google presentation. Since we're talking about the presentation, we just go with that. As you can see, I've created so many for my reports. It's just coming up. It's called this test report. And then the people that I want to work, I just have to click on them, and this will pop them over to this one. Lupita, I don't want her to get an email on a Saturday and think I'm asking her to do something. These are all me, so it's no problem. But as you create this, as you said, I chose a presentation, I named it, and I added the people that I want to work with, and I click submit. This will create this test report that we just, and if I click on it, this is open up a Google Sheet. And this is where I can work and the other teammates that I've added in here, so we can work on the presentation in one area together and collaborate on it. Also, if I, let's say that PowerPoint that I have opened, where did it go? The one we just worked on. Let me save this. I can actually import that file. So let's say we worked on something, we can bring that in here, or maybe you've worked on something you have done before. And let's see, I have so many files. So PowerPoint, up there's go, workshop. So if I import that file in here, what we just worked on can be popping into this Google area, so other people can access it as well. So I just imported those slides we worked on. As you see, they're all in there. I can select them all and import it. It's gonna take a little bit, but voila, all the stuff that we just worked on popped into that collaboration area. Now my teammates can look at it. Let's say you have your slide, you can import 2 slides that you're working on. They have 2 slides, everybody can work it. And then in here, it's not as good as the actual PowerPoint, but still you have all the themes and everything that you can work on the presentation in here and don't have to go outside. But I thought I'd just share that with you since we're talking about presentation and Canvas in our courses, because this is a tool that's available to you. Not a lot of people are aware of it. I always show it to my classmate. I'm like, hey, we can do this in Canvas. And we're like, oh, I didn't know that exists. So I thought I'd share that with you. But it has to, the faculty has to add that feature, right? To the class. Okay. It's there, and if it's not there, you can ask them, or you can let me know, and I go. Some people just don't set it up, but they haven't used it, so that's why it's not populated. So if you don't see it, you can ask your teacher. They reach out to us, and we enable it for you. Sometimes they enable it later. So the reason you might not see it is because it's not enabled yet, but it is available in Canvas.
So
Yeah, that's good to know.
Just went out to Canvas to try to find it, and I didn't see collaborations, but I did go through Google Drive and logged in that way. I didn't, will that allow me to collaborate with others?
It still will. Yeah.
That's-
It's just you have to share that one. So you can either go through the Google Drive or you can go through, so that might be they have Google Drive available for you and they disable the collaboration. So depending on different instructor that have different things. But
Okay.
we're working on a process of having collaboration available for everybody. So if you haven't seen it in this term, for sure from spring 2 term, it's going to be available.
Okay.
No matter what. Any other questions?
I have one for you, Amir. Your
Sure.
final presentation in operations management looked really edgy yet appropriate and professional. And I
Oh,
was, if you design that yourself, or if you have a subscription service that you use for cool power.
that one actually, that was for the slides that I used there. I created that for my master thesis presentation a couple of years ago. So I just brought that in and I used it for that class.
Okay.
But it's a lot of that morph that I showed you.
Okay.
It's the feature. So that actually good transition to what I wanted to share with you guys. Let me pop this open. There is a couple of websites that allow you to download their theme that is free, but you need to make sure you have their name or kind of representing on their references. So it's not against the copyright rules. Like slide.carnivals, I'm going to add this to the chat so you guys can have it. It's one of them that allow you to download some stuff. And here's the other one, free PowerPoint templates. A lot of things that I learned on PowerPoint, honestly, has been, I YouTube a lot of things. I self-taught myself how to use PowerPoint. And if you search animated PowerPoint, it pops up. It's so many ways, and it's not that difficult to do, but I don't know if you have the time. I enjoy it. PowerPoint is one of the things I enjoy when I do, so I spend hours sometimes on creating something. But that's not the purpose of this. I want to make things easier for you and faster so you don't have to spend. But if you want to, there's a lot of good videos and resources out there that can teach you like a simple things. There's websites that allow you to, those are smart arts that we talked about, pre-designed, you can bring it in. Again, you have to be very aware of the royalties and copyright issues with those kind of things. So I usually try to stay within PowerPoint and create things inside PowerPoint, so I don't have to worry about the copyrights because it gets complicated.
Okay, thank you. Those are both, I checked those out. Those are both really good resources. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I use them once in a while. Again, if I don't like any of the themes and if I'm looking for something specific, I don't know if you remember, I think Nikki used one for the first presentation we had in our classes that was medical and it was blood and stuff because we were talking about those. So it was specific to that, but she had the reference at the end of the PowerPoint that we picked that template from there. So it's a useful thing to have. And there's a bunch more. These are the one I use. There is at least 200-300 when you Google search it.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's some subscription ones that are a lot better. I don't know if you want to spend the money when the free ones is there, but sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes you can spend it. I think it's 30, 40. It starts from $30 a month to like $300-400 a month, depending on what you want.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this, Amir. There are some really cool, presentations, and it seems like some of them has the industries even, so it gives you that is pretty unique. So.
Oh, I'm glad I helped out. I don't have anything else. Ahmed, if you want to stay on, I can show you if everybody else, because we're past 2 minutes past our 10:30. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. If you guys want to stay longer, I can answer any more questions or any specific things that you guys want, but I'm going to stop recording and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Amir.